Toxic workplaces don't announce themselves. They drain you slowly. You wake up on a Monday morning and your stomach drops. Not because you're tired, not because you have a big presentation, but because the thought of walking into that office, dealing with that boss, those coworkers, that environment, feels like it's slowly draining the life out of you. You've thought about quitting, maybe 100 times, but you can't. Not right now. The bills are real. The job market is tough. Or maybe, just maybe, the job itself is actually good, and it's the people or the culture that's the problem. So what do you do when you can't leave? But staying feels unbearable. Before we talk about how to survive, we need to get clear on what we're surviving. Because toxic workplace gets thrown around a lot, and not every uncomfortable job is actually toxic. A truly toxic workplace has some specific signs. There's consistent disrespect. People are belittled, humiliated, or talked down to regularly. This is what researchers call workplace bullying, and it creates a hostile work environment. There's a culture of fear where speaking up comes with real consequences. There's favoritism, gaslighting, or manipulation from leadership. Burnout is normalized, high turnover is ignored. Gossip and backstabbing are basically the operating system. Sound familiar? Now here's why this distinction matters. If your workplace is genuinely toxic, your survival strategy looks different than if you're just dealing with a difficult coworker or a stressful season. Knowing what you're up against helps you respond strategically instead of just reacting emotionally. Take a moment to honestly ask yourself, is the toxicity external or is some of it internal? Sometimes we're burned out, going through something personal, or stuck in a negative mindset that's coloring everything around us. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying clarity is power. When you see the situation accurately, you can address it accurately. So, journal it out. Name it. Write down specifically what's happening, who's involved, and how it's affecting you. This isn't just therapeutic, it's strategic. If the behavior crosses into harassment or discrimination territory, this documentation could matter for EEOC complaints or Title VII protections later. Here's a truth nobody tells you when you're suffering through a toxic job. The environment is going to try to take everything from you if you let it. Your mood, your confidence, your creativity, your sense of self-worth. Your number one job, above everything on your actual job description, is to protect your energy. What does that look like practically? First, create hard emotional boundaries. A boundary isn't a wall. It's a rule you set for yourself about what you will and won't engage with. When that coworker starts in with workplace gossip at 9 a.m., you're allowed to say, "I've got a deadline, catch you later," and walk away. You're allowed to not respond to every toxic text in the group chat. You're allowed to emotionally detach from social undermining without being rude about it. This takes practice, but here's a reframe that helped me. You are not required to attend every argument you're invited to. Second, guard your before and after work time fiercely. The toxic workplace wants to exist in your head 24/7. Your commute home becomes a mental replay of everything that went wrong. Sunday night dread starts on Friday evening. You've got to reclaim that time. Create rituals that signal the transition. A specific playlist for your commute home, a workout right after work, a 10-minute walk, cooking a meal you actually enjoy. These aren't just self-care buzzwords. They're neurological pattern interrupts. They help your brain switch out of stress mode. Third, stop trying to fix the culture. This one is hard, especially for high achievers and empathetic people. You think if you just model the right behavior or have the right conversation or work hard enough, you can change the environment. If you're in survival mode, that's not your job right now. Your job is to protect yourself, do your work well, and plan your next move. Okay, this is my favorite section because it's where things get strategic. I call it your invisible force field. The set of relationships, habits, and mindsets that insulate you from the toxicity around you. Ally up. Find at least 1 or 2 people in your workplace who are also decent, grounded humans. You don't need a squad. You need a witness, someone who sees what you see, who you can debrief with privately, and who has your back in meetings. What you're really building here is psychological safety. That sense that you can speak up without fear of negative consequences. These people exist in almost every toxic environment. Find them. Be careful, though. Not everyone who complains about the workplace is your ally. Some people are just professional victims who will drag you deeper into the negativity. Look for people who vent and problem solve, who are frustrated but still performing. Those are your people. Control your narrative. In toxic workplaces, perception is everything. People talk. Assumptions get made. You need to be intentional about how you show up. This doesn't mean being fake. It means being strategic. Do good work and make sure it's visible. Send recap emails after verbal conversations so there's a paper trail. When you contribute something meaningful, document it. Volunteer for projects that align with your strengths. Not to impress anyone, but to remind yourself and the record of what you're actually capable of. Stay connected to your identity outside of work. One of the most insidious things a toxic workplace does is shrink your world until the job feels like everything. Your mood, your worth, your future, all of it tied to this one place. Push back on that. Invest in friendships outside work. Keep up with hobbies. Learn something new that has nothing to do with your job. The more full your life feels outside that building, the less power the workplace has over your sense of self. Let's talk about the people specifically, because usually when we say toxic workplace, what we mean is toxic people in this workplace. The micromanager. Give them what they want. Frequent updates before they ask. This sounds counterintuitive, but micromanagers control because they're anxious. Remove their anxiety by over-communicating and watch them back off. The credit stealer. Start documenting everything. CC your manager on key updates. Use language like, as I shared in my email last Tuesday, in meetings. Make your contributions visible and time-stamped without being aggressive about it. The workplace gossip. Keep it surface level. Give them nothing to work with. When they start talking about someone else, redirect with something neutral like, I honestly don't know enough about that to say. Don't engage. Don't react. Be boring to them. The toxic boss. This is the hardest one, especially if you're dealing with narcissistic personality traits or manipulation tactics. If your boss is the source of toxicity, you have a few options. 1. Understand their priorities and pressure points, and position your work in terms of what matters to them. 2. Find out if there's anyone above them who creates a safer culture and build a relationship there. 3. Document everything, because if the behavior crosses into harassment or discrimination, you'll need that record. Know your options with HR and understand your employment law protections. And here's the golden rule for all difficult people. Never match their energy. When someone brings chaos, you bring calm. When they're reactive, you're measured. This isn't weakness, it's power. Here's something that might surprise you. Having an exit plan, even if you never use it, will completely change how you feel at work. Right now, if you feel like you have no options, the toxicity has 100% of the power over you. The minute you start building alternatives, that power shifts. Update your resume. LinkedIn, too. Start having casual conversations with people in your network. Not desperate job hunting, just reconnecting. Take note of roles that interest you. Research companies with healthy cultures. Build your skills. And here's the reality. Sometimes the healthiest response to a toxic workplace is quiet quitting, doing exactly what's required, nothing more, while you plan your next move. This isn't giving up, it's strategic disengagement. You might do all of this and decide to stay. And that's okay, but you'll stay because you chose to, not because you felt trapped. That shift in mindset changes everything. Here's what I know for certain. People who feel like they have no way out tend to cope in the worst ways, checking out mentally, overworking to numb out, or spiraling into anxiety and resentment. People who have a plan, even a loose one, carry themselves differently. They perform better. They set better limits. They actually survive longer with their sanity intact. So build the plan, even if you never use it. Look, I'm not going to pretend that any of this is easy. Surviving a toxic workplace takes real effort, real self-awareness, and real strategy. And there may come a point where no amount of strategy is enough, and leaving becomes the right, even the necessary, choice. But until that point, you have more power than you think. Protect your energy, build your alliances, control your narrative, navigate the people with intention, and always, always have a plan. You are not stuck. You are strategic. Take care of yourself. You've got this.